I don't even know where to begin with this chapter, because like, what the hell was that? So little happens here, and yet so much does at the exact same time, that after my initial reading of the chapter, I walked away scratching my head about how both of those statements could possibly be true at once. And yet they are, and it's all because of this little ball of chaos right here, Adramelech. The Supreme Rank Devil who has continued to confuse me since the very first moment he appeared in the manga, and I have a feeling he's going to continue to do so up until the very last chapter. Given how few chapters we seemingly have left, if the whole super climax statement really means it's the end of the series, which it likely does, then we knew that somewhere in these last few chapters he had to finally make his move, whatever that was going to be. But like, dude, what he did in this chapter was so insane and so far out of left field that I doubt anyone can truly say they predicted this happening. At least I know I can't, because I wasn't anywhere near this development with any of my theories around this character. Hell, I wasn't even close to what his magic attribute ended up being. And it's nice to see that even in the finale of the story, Tabata is still able to throw me for a loop with his wild ideas. But almost as if to offset the crazy plot twist this devil causes in the second half of the chapter, we open this one with something much more in line with what we expected, as we jump straight back into the fight between our two main heroes versus the man that calls himself the God of Magic. Which, by my count, this is now what, the fourth round of this fight? The first obviously being Yuno's solo battle against Lucius, then next when Asta joined in on the fun, followed up by Anti-Magic Yuno versus Lucius after Asta took that critical hit, and now here we are with it back to being a three-man affair. And one thing I like about opening the chapter with this battle is that we go through the first 5 pages without a single word showing up in any of the panels. No dialogue, no dot bubbles, just straight action for 5 whole pages. It really gives the fight the time it needs to breathe and gives us the option to speed through those pages just taking a quick look at the amazing art on display like I did in my initial reading, or to really slow down and examine this fight as it develops right in front of us. Which is what I did in my second reading of the chapter, and what I noticed during that is just how quickly Asta and Yuno evolve during this fight. Starting off more on the defensive as they struggle to even get close to Lucius, as his attacks are able to not only keep them at bay, but is seemingly overpowering them. But little by little, with each passing panel, the two were slowly getting closer and closer to him until they managed to completely close the distance, forcing him to go on the defensive and shifting the momentum of this fight in the other direction. And what's cool about this is that the first bit of dialogue we get here is from both of their partners, Libe and Bell, commenting about how just by being around each other, these two were forcing the other to get stronger and stronger as the fight went on. And it's all because of how deep their bond is, so deep that it's implied their souls are in perfect sync with each other during this fight. It's not often you get two main characters in a shonen that are able to work so well together in a fight. Usually you get the more Goku and Vegeta types, where they prefer to fight one-on-one, even if it's smarter for them to team up. And when they do, they might as well still be fighting solo, because there's almost no actual teamwork between them. Or you'll get characters that actually do work well together, but it involves a lot of pre-planning in order to execute. But Asta and Yuno are some of the few dutagonists that you genuinely believe can seamlessly jump into a fight at any point and fight together as if they share a brain. No planning, not even a shred of dialogue, just going off of pure instinct and trusting in their partner. And now that the two through teamwork have turned the tables in this fight, the question is now, how is Lucius going to bounce back from this? Because based on the way these two are growing during this chapter, I would expect that this fight is going to end the next time we see them. Which, hey, it very well could be the case. As of the recording of this video, I still haven't read chapter 386, so it could be that this fight is completely ignored in that chapter in favor of closing out one of the other remaining battles going on. And then once we come back with the final batch of chapters, we'll get one dedicated to ending this. Which honestly still makes me sad even thinking about the fact that this series is so close to its ending. Though even if we are rushing towards the ending and relegate the finale of this epic battle to just a single chapter, I doubt we've still seen the full power of Lucius just yet. He always seems to have at least one more card up his sleeve, and I imagine this is going to be the same case, but with Yuno and Asta working together, it won't matter much. And then I guess once he's done, maybe we'll get an epilogue chapter, which should hopefully show us who ended up becoming the next Wizard King. Plot twist, I don't think is going to be either of our heroes here. But that's a topic for a later video. For now, we had to check in on our favorite lazy devil, Adramelech, who is still just sitting there. Honestly, I don't think he's moved from that spot since this war began. Which, to be fair, why would he? One thing that has been consistent about his character since his introduction is that he enjoys a good show. And this chapter clarifies exactly why he sat on the sidelines during the battle against Lucifero, even when the King of Devils demanded that he step in and help, because he was having too much fun watching both sides struggle in that fight. It wasn't so much that by then he was already working with Lucius, so he was actively rooting for Lucifero to lose. It didn't really matter to him who ended up winning that fight, because regardless of who was left standing at the end, he got what he wanted out of it: entertainment. And that's exactly why he hasn't done a thing to aid Lucius this entire time since Judgment Day began, because Adramelech was just in it to see the chaos his plan would unleash. So to him, there's no better place to be than sitting right there on that rock watching each of these fights play out. And you may think that if what he's after is watching a good battle, then he'd be much better off flying up to where Lucius is and watching the fight play out between the three most powerful people in this war, but that's actually the opposite of what he's after. Because yeah, obviously those three are going to have the most epic battle, but they're also going to have the most straightforward one. Whereas the battles with each of the paladins are all much more complex due to the emotional ties each of their opponents had to them. With Marioliona being the obvious exception. Her and Morris had no connection prior to their fight, but the loss of her squad mates who all sacrificed themselves for her one by one during the fight gave it that emotional aspect that the fight against Lucius is missing. The drama that enveloped those fights are what Adramelech found so entertaining, and is why he chose to watch them over the big battle. And even now, with the paladins having been revived, that drama has only increased, with Marioliona now having a personal attachment to her opponent as she is stepping in for the Silva siblings to take on her former master, and the Diamond Squad tagging in for her to take on Morris to pay him back for all the years of torture he inflicted on them in his mad pursuit of science. The only one that doesn't really have any added drama to it is the battle of Team Yami versus Morgan, but it's hard to really add on more drama to the mess that already was to begin with. And this is actually the fight we focus in on in the second half of this chapter, as the three of them are being pinned down by a barrage of attacks Morgan is sending out across the entire area they're fighting in. And at first, when we cut to Yami's group, I thought that black ball in the sky was just a larger version of his black moon, which made me think, dude, not exactly a great idea to have that out if you're trying to hide here. But turns out it was actually Morgan's. That giant black spear being what he was using to shoot out beams of light, with them getting an added boost to their attack power thanks to originating from that darkness. And now that the paladin has evolved, even Yami and Nox's new transformations aren't enough to overcome their opponent's new power. But luckily for them, they get an unexpected visit from Adramelech, who offers to aid them in this fight by possessing Yami. And his reason for jumping in here, despite being happy to sit on the sidelines prior to this, is exactly what I laid out earlier in the video, because this will give him the most entertainment. The future Lucius is after is one that will see him at the top of the world, in direct control of all of humanity, which means no free will, no conflict, and more importantly, no drama. And a world without any drama is one that this devil won't be able to find any entertainment in, hence why he's choosing to help make sure it doesn't happen, so that humanity can stay his constant source of fun. And I saw a surprising amount of people online saying that it's completely out of character for Yami to so readily accept Adramelech's help here, but one thing I think they're forgetting is that, like Asta, Yami is pretty good at using his ki to read people's intentions. And because of that, he was able to tell that the devil truly wanted to help them because he found them so much fun. How long he plans on helping them, that's still kind of up in the air, but as of right now, Yami can trust that what he says is actually true. Now, one thing I have to point out, this isn't a devil union. It's more like Asta's black form. The two didn't make a contract like Asta did with Libe or Nock with any of his devils. This is more along the lines of what the Dark Triad had with each of their devils, where they were more so borrowing a percentage of their power. But it's more than enough to get on the edge in this fight, as we get the big reveal that Adramelech's magic attribute is light, and the three of them give Morgan a taste of his own medicine by copying his move of shooting a beam of light through immense darkness. And then Yami follows it up by borrowing Ichika's katana and slashing the paladin down with two sword style, infusing one with dark magic and the other with light. Honestly, this was such a cool way to end the chapter. My only gripe with it is that I don't think we're going to get to see more of this new partnership since we are so close to the ending of the manga. I mean, there is still hope that Yami might jump in to help in the battle against Lucius, since he played a major role in each of the climactic battles of the previous two sagas, and he does have much more of an emotional attachment to this fight than Asta and Yuno, given that Lucius is using his mentor's body. But unless whatever the Fake Wizard King has as a final trump card is so dangerous that even Asta's perfected Devil Union can't overcome it alone, I don't see him being involved. And honestly, if we're going to get a third person in this fight, I'd rather it be Noelle. But we'll have to wait and see what, if anything, is in store for Yami next as we march on towards the finale.